Sir. Sir, come closer.
The merging of both the color in the logo represent the dynamic interconnection between them and their role in ensuring sustainability and food security. A torch is given to represent the power of scientific knowledge and innovation in laying a path towards the bright future of Indian agricultural sector. The flame represents the role played by AFSTI in enlightening and inspiring the scientific community, student and various stakeholders through insightful program like First. And this was sent by the student herself. So looking forward to see you all at 29th First in Trivandrum. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, Dr. Nandini. I hope our
Namaskar, greetings, good morning on this occasion. Very senior colleagues are here. Madam Vijaya Rao, Dr. Vijaya Rao, Dr. A.S. Bava, other colleagues I see here. Among others, we have Srimati Hari Prasad, very senior colleague in Mysore, Dr. Anantram Krishnan, and other colleagues. And on the dais, very esteemed president of the AFSTI, Dr. Alok Srivastava, our president designate, and of course he is not seen often because he is often in Delhi. So anyway, he is here, president designate and advisor FSSAI, Dr. N. Bhaskar, Honorable Vice Chancellor and Director of the Central Institute of Fisheries Education in Mumbai, and the esteemed guest this morning, Dr. C. N. Ravishankar. I see many senior colleagues from our fraternity. We have Professor Shyam Sundar, Dr. M. N. Gopal, former Dean of College of Fisheries, Mangalore, Dr. C. K. Murthy, Chief of the former Chief of the National Fisheries Development Board. So like this, so many, and then our office bearers of the AFSTI, Vice President Dr. Nanda, Madam Honorary Secretary Dr. Nandini Shetty, and then Treasurer Dr. Basavaraju, several colleagues who have made this occasion. Dr. Azadi, thank you very much for having us here. Colleagues from cftri, from DSRL, student friends, to all of you. Only we are missing Director of the cftri, Dr. Sri Venkatapurna Singh, due to her ill health. I pray for her recovery and joining us this morning. At the outset, very grateful to the Association of Food Scientists and Technologists India for asking us to be here on the Azadi Mahotsav occasion. Initially, I was very hesitant and nervous, but then Dr. Bhaskar, our dynamic colleague, again Dr. Bhaskar is always outstanding. Dr. Bhaskar, he assured me that I will not be alone. Dr. Ravishankar, Vice Chancellor from CFE Mumbai, will be with me. So I said on that condition I agreed. And then thank you very much, Dr. Ravishankar, for making it here this morning. To all of you, once again, greetings. And at the outset, I would like to salute late Dr. V. Subramaniam, the founder director of the Central Food Technological Research Institute, also the founder of the AFSTI. That kind of visionary that he was amazing. And I think on a day like this, it's our privilege to offer our salutations to him. And going further, the AFSTI, a very strong society. I believe now you are exactly 65 years young. And then 65 years, and maybe in the 70 years, in the next 10 years, you also will be celebrating the Amrit Mahotsav. We look forward for that day. A very commendable organization with 4,000 members, 38 chapters and so on, elegant job in publications. So such a society, and many times we think in our Srivastav said, talked about pre-independence and initial independence years. Now we many times wonder if cftri was not here, we would not have been what we are as a country. That's the least tribute that we can pay to this great organization. So in this occasion, I say thank you very much for asking me to be here. Dr. Srivastav, Dr. Bhaskar. I'm basically a fisherman and then turned farmer. So that's my introduction, and that's why I said don't introduce, because it's all this occasion, a few slides, a few talk. I've been given 40 minutes, and then I'm sure that it will not take more time. You are all food and technology, food science, food engineering, and I see a lot of PhD students and MSc students, and from the course that cftri is offering for many years now. So you are very familiar with food science and technology and engineering. So I said, talking about the same subject would be like bringing your coal to the castle. So I thought I would talk about something one step before, the supply chain. That's where I come from. And then so maybe nothing. It's just to kind of initiate some interest, stimulate some thoughts, and then gradually appreciate what the farmer today is. That's the intention of this talk. And the architect for food and nutrition, I thought Madam Dr. Singh would have complemented this with her talk on food, and she was about to speak on nutrition per se. So this is what we always talk of. Speaking at AFSTRI in Mysore, we cannot forget the great poet of this land, who has given us the Nadagita and Wright. In Wright, if you see, who is in Kannada, he says, ನೇಗಿಲ ಹಿಡಿದು ಆಡತ ಹೊಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಉಳುತಿಯ ನೋಡಿ ಉಳುತಿಯ ಯೋಗಿ ನೋಡಲಿ ಅಂತ. It's the translation something like this, having the flow and then singing, he's celebrating farming, and then he is all the time into what is the farming. One day he stops his work and we are gone. And that's the kind of tribute who was paid to him. So I think we remember him with this slide. And these occasions, all of us know. Today's newspaper, you must have read, the Sustainable Development Goals throughout the country, 17 goals, cannot be achieved by 2030 for the simple reason: one, climate change; second, COVID; and then third is global crisis, unprecedented, wars-like situation that's happening around the world and even in our neighborhood. So these are a few things, kind of pandemic that we have had. And for the first time, we are seeing a return migration. Earlier it's all used to be from the rural to urban, and then now it's urban to rural, that kind of a thing that's coming up. And then the two sectors that worked really well during all last 3 years have been food and health. And fortunately, of course, cftri has been all the time cftri has been all the time forging that kind of relation between food and health. But the societal ambience did not. But COVID somehow brought that together. And then, as I said, the wars and the disasters, including disasters, these have impacted. And 10 years to SDG, that's what we think, but it's only now 7 years, and that's difficult also. So Azadi Amrit Mahotsav, 75 years of independence. And then, as Dr. Srivastav said, we are no more in those PL 480 days, and 50 million tons of food grains. Today we are 310 million tons of food grains. That's only food grains. I'll talk about the food a little later, and that's what we are in 75 years. And exactly maybe another 4 weeks, we are having that celebration of the independence. And also the new platform that have come are the National Education Policy and the Science, Technology, Innovation Policy. Finally, we are all aware of this Atmanirbhar, the call for becoming self-reliant. And this is what MDGs to SDGs paradigm shift, talking of SDGs, 17 of them and at least 7 of them into agriculture and food. And I think each of our activities to be tuned to these goals. That's what we are looking at. I won't go with much statistics, but just to be very brief in such an occasion, the global food system, something like $3.5 trillion, and the land about 5 billion hectares all over the world. But then please notice there is a gradual decline in agricultural land, not only in India, throughout the world. So we can make arms and automobiles and warships and aeroplanes, but if food production decreases. Last month you must have seen a message from the Indian Commerce Minister asking for people to go for more paddy. The paddy production has become a concern. Or when the meat export was for a while stopped, you could have seen the kind of the reactions from all over the world. So that's the situation we are in. And again, please see the workforce. We produce 10 billion tons of food all over the world, but the workforce again is a decline. 10% decline is not a small thing. That means people going out of agriculture is again a concern, and maybe pesticides, fertilizers, and so on and so forth. And the oil which is so dear to us, edible oil, then again you are seeing the kind of concern that we have today. Milk, 900 million tons, and then India proudly says we are the largest producer. Similarly, meat increase is there. Fish globally about 180 million tons, and then we come to the Indian figures a little later. Similarly, eggs, forest and so on. Now, these are the kinds of things that what is important is the global trade, about $1.5 trillion. That's very important to look at. But at the same time, we are being increasingly questioned, not applauding us for food production per se, but then the carbon footprints that we are leaving, the greenhouse gas emissions, maybe from the paddy fields, from the wastelands, from the wetlands, from the livestock and so on. This is what we are worried about. At the same time, we are at least 1 billion people hungry and into malnutrition. That's why we are now talking about the global climate risk index. India is the 7th most affected when it comes to climate change. We are seeing in and around all the time. Now, this is not a matter of, as I said, nearly 1 billion people are into some form of hunger and malnutrition, and then we are talking about a healthy diet of $2 per day per capita, not able to achieve even that. But when it comes to global south, that's global south is mainly India, Indian subcontinent, 57% cannot be called fully nutrition safe. That's the worrisome feature. And in global hunger index, I don't want to talk about too many negatives, but these are the facts. About 101 in 116 countries. Now, this is very important: food, water, energy, access. And this way we are wondering, in a country like India, what is the water use? What is the energy that we use in farming? Often we don't think of the energy input, when we all have assumed that we have energy for free. And then that's where we are also, I want to bring in another dimension, in how much food to be processed. Maybe the AFSTI may need to consider this, because a country like India largely prefers fresh food, whether it's vegetable or fish or whatever. Now, how much processing that we should be doing? So the energy, again the carbon footprint that we will be creating in processing. So how much, because all the time we are saying we are processing too little. At the same time, a typical consumer in India prefers everything fresh. So what kind of a supply chain should be built up? Maybe a good paper will be coming out. How much of water, energy footprints will be there in food production and food processing? That's what is the request here. I often bring up this slide because in 1928, when Mahatma Gandhi with Madan Malviya took a 2 weeks daily processing training in Bangalore. Can you imagine 1947 and 20 years earlier, Mahatma thought, inspired with all the freedom struggle, now we are talking about Azadi Mahotsav, amidst all the freedom struggle, he thought it fit to spend 2 weeks in Bangalore undergoing daily training. That's the kind of importance the father of the nation gave. These are some pictures, heritage pictures, including Mysore Maharaja and so on. Now this again is that picture. Now, since then, 75 years on, the agriculture, farming, is seeing that kind of a priority, interest, and investments are much desired, but then interest from the people who matter. That's what is important. Now, very quickly, now India, again, this country in 75 years, we should remember this, just 4% water, 2%, 2.5% land, but in sustaining 17%, 17.5, we are going to be the most populous nation over China. It's been reported in the next coming 2 to 3 years. In that case, 17% of global population, 15% of livestock, and our area, all the area put together, it's about 140 million hectares. That also marginally going out, and then 44%, 50% nearly people dependent on farmers, on farming. So that's why we are talking of Annadata. Every time we say Annadata, but Annadatas have told us you only tell Annadata but don't do anything further. So to him or her, we would like to pay that respect and tribute. In 75 years of independent India, if we are confident, unlike many other nations today, global turmoil, if we are confident, if we are happy, if we are able to sit like this in an auditorium and have a few discourses, absolutely it's the farming who has given us that kind of a ambience and environment. So these are a few things that we would like to talk about. Again, the farm exports more than 12% of the oil exports. Since we are talking in Karnataka, it's about 5% of the country's food basket. And then what we are talking of and further going about, because for you, food technology, food processes, is again important how you source the material. Our large middle farmers are going out. Today already 87% of farmers are small. Small means what? Just 2 hectares of land. And our projection is by 2030, not very far, it's going to be 90%, and by 2050 it may be 95%, because land is continually being divided. And in Brazil, a small farmer is a 250-acre holder. That is a small farmer. In India, it is 5 acres. So no comparisons, because often we are compared to US, China, Brazil, and so on. But then, of course, China we are comparing because of similar small farm holdings. But then we have to be clear what we are comparing with. Now, coming to Indian figures, it's very important because the press always talks of food grains. 308, now it is 310 million tons of food, or 309 or so. But horticulture, fruits and vegetables, it's 340. Milk, as I said, about 208. Meat, fish, 14. Dr. Ravi Shankar, the Vice Chancellor from CFE Mumbai, would be of the CFE Mumbai, would be speaking about it more, maybe 14 plus. And then so today what is something like 35, about 40 lakh crore rupees, that is the worth of being produced in this primary value. That's very important, and that's something more than 10% of the global and nearly 25% of the Asian food production that we are having. We are not fortunate. I'm sure the students should feel themselves fortunate. They could have gone to IT, could have gone to anything. But in food production sector is something it's so much sacred. I would say it's sacred, that we are able to contribute a little of us to this great whatever goal you call it, domain, whatever. So then I just mentioned about it. Today our problem is the climate change, already mentioned, the stresses, the resource decline, so all these kind of things. The World Economic Forum, at least for the last 7 years, this time they met in May, only 2 months back, they do deliberate on agriculture. Earlier they were not including agriculture in their discussions. So that brings the importance, including some of the new technologies. Now this is where we have to be addressing high, large scale. Now today we talk of a mall, whatever kinds of malls, the Lulu Mall in Kerala is the latest in news. Or IKEA, like this it goes on. But then kindly appreciate that food retailing, food aggregation, food is still the primary domain that we are talking about. Not going into details, I already mentioned about this, but the targets also have been worked out. What is it in 2030, what is the scenario? In 2015, what is the scenario? How much more food we should be producing? But along with food, you as food scientists, food technologists, you are well aware what is the loss, post-harvest losses, what should we be doing about it. These are the concerns. Fortunately, this country has more than 10% of the biodiversity. whether it's northeast or the western Ghats or whatever we talk of. Otherwise also both terrestrial and aquatic. That's what is our strength. At the same time, see the per capita land. An Indian does not have more than 1,000 square meters, not more than 0.1 hectare. So it's going to be precarious. The per capita land availability in India is just about 0.1 hectare compared to 0.2 hectare globally. So that means we are at 50%. So then these kinds of issues that are coming up, then the future is it going to be just like the food grains, and it's something more, the food, fruits, vegetables, all that I mentioned. It's for many more things than just food. The agriculture has to cater to. And this way we are talking of a shift from starch to protein. But even in the COVID era brought before us the importance of protein, the immunity today, society. Everybody talks of immunity. I mean, that's a catchword today. I mean, it's become fortunate. It's a very unfortunate incident that happened. But then the social awareness, societal awareness with regard to science and technology and innovations have greatly increased. That's one thing that's happened in this country. So these are a few things that we want to talk of agriculture to employment. Today, the biggest challenge in the country is youth employment, gainful employment, skillful employment, and that's why we talk of food as a major possibility. Now, farmers also talk of farmers to want to be recognized as something different. This is how we gave them the name agripreneurs, because they would like to be compared. They say that you wear a tie and I can't wear a tie, so when I go to a meeting, the people don't respect me. This is the feedback from the farmers. So that's why we say, salute him, give respect to him, and then this society has to depend on farming for all the time. Doubling farmers' income all the time discussed, so what we think is integration, diversification, clustering as much as possible. These are a few things. But as food technology, you also know the major challenges that are coming up, including antimicrobial resistance, the microplastics, very scary situations, scary things that pesticide residues we were talking of earlier also. But the new thing that are the new challenges are really concerning us. That's why we need to have greater and greater inputs in researches. So that's why everybody talks of smart farming. That people, smart farmers do tell us there is a smartphone, smart city, smart tie, and so on, but then not a smart farming. So we're now talking of water smart, energy smart, anything to do with smart farming. For example, I think our colleagues, very renowned rice technologies are here. But for us to grow rice, to grow paddy, at least 1,600 liters of water per kg of paddy, not rice, even paddy. So that kind of a demand. So that's why we are looking at water footprints, and then other possibilities of water management, and then innovations in terms of low-cost technologies, how to conserve water. And then you are now seeing the campaigns going around the country of healthy soil, good plant, good animal, and then good man. Good man is another thing to discuss. Good man is not just physical; it's many other dimensions. But then the soil, plant, animal, man relationship is what is being discussed. Soil as the root. Then smartness, talking of many nanofertilizers from combinations, formulations from several laboratories coming in, a very enthusiastic process. Again, the genetic diversity, 93,000 types of rice available in this country. Only yesterday I was speaking to our colleague in Palakkad, Mr. Uni, who produces black rice, Navara rice. You must have heard about it. He sells about 520 rupees a kilogram, having some therapeutic value and so on. So now, this kind of biodiversity, and I know in safety area also several things that are happening in terms of biotech. Now, how can we be, of course, then again, biotech is not all GM. So that's why I said in a country like this, very difficult to take science and innovations directly into societal acceptance. And that's what requires awareness and so on. And seed again is a huge thing. Youngsters for agripreneurship, an ideal entry point. And then pulses is one thing that we are deficient of. In the recent past, we have been able to come to almost the required amount, about 25 million tons. Otherwise, we are short of 10 to 12 million tons all the time importing. Here we are a little okay, but the oil seeds, except the groundnut and the mustard, and to some extent, other things, castor, all that, the safflower and other coming in. Coconut oil, definitely. the palm oil being imported in such huge quantities, 50%. Now the oil palm mission that's coming up in the country, we have to see how all these go. This is one area that we have to be concerned about. As technologies, you know, the per capita consumption of oil, edible oil in this country is something like 19 kilograms, way above the requirement. So and then if you add butter, fats and all, it will be 24 kilograms. So can we both awareness and production have to go hand in hand. In cftri also has been a partner in some of these millet campaigns and looking at these crops for health. And then again the forgotten crops, the orphan crops, they are coming back as future crops. And then horticulture I just mentioned in 7 different areas, the kind of contributions it has made. At the same time, I'm sure this has provided a great opportunity for food processors, food scientists, technologies, given the perishable nature and umpteen possibilities of high value agriculture, including just now I heard talk to a student, she was talking about microbial pigments. Several other things that are coming in. So huge possibilities in this area. The continuous efforts to bring in new material, lot of improved germ and so on. So similarly, plantation timber crops. Karnataka, for example, this ODOP is picking up, one district, one product. So that's where a very customized approach to processing. But it's not happening. I've also been going to several food parks. No, we don't see, many places I've seen only gherkin brine, and nothing else happens. So a lot of challenges, at the same time opportunities for our youngsters to look at these possibilities. So ODOP is a possible opportunity. Then high value crops, again a lot of engineers getting into these. In Himachal, for example, MBA engineering graduates taking to broccoli farming, 5 lakh rupees per acre. That's the kind of money that they're fetching. When I asked them whether they would go back to their work, they said, no way, why would we leave such a thing? So that kind of possibility that horticulture is offering. Now the nutri farms, again the designer farms, you give your prescription like a doctor and the farmer will provide you that kind of material. This is another concept coming up around Bangalore, around Hyderabad, around Pune and so on. Terrace farming, urban agriculture, hydroponics, vertical farming, different variations. Again, adding to these. Why I am mentioning this in a meeting like this is, some are very small quantities. They are made basically for domestic consumption. But some are when they are clustered, it becomes quite a volume, and the perishable, given the perishable nature, lot of waste. So can we get into some kind of customized processing or some kind of customized cold chain at least for them? That's the request. And then protected cultivation taking up in different forms, controlled atmosphere, maybe many variations that are there. And this again, the moment they produce high value, they expect high returns, and that's where can we intervene as processing as food technologies. Now this again another this plus the organic farming, high possibilities, and they are also getting that kind of money returns. And today we are about 5 million hectares of organic farming in the country. So this about 3 million tons cultivated. But the concern is also with regard to collected. We also have a lot of still wild harvest, and that might hamper our biodiversity. We need to look at this aspect also when it comes to organic farming. Then again, a lot of efforts from fortifications days to biofortification today, and several interventions that are happening in crop varieties, and some of these possibilities here. Now we are also looking at several, of course I'm sure an institute like this very well aware. AFSTRI is also commissioning many challenging projects. The logo that we saw, absolutely beautiful logo designed by a colleague in CFT Cochin. So the kind of innovation that are happening, so people are looking at this combination of the public system research and the private sector innovations. So can we have some complementarity between them, bringing more stakeholders? That is the interest at this stage. And then the Health Food Connect. You already have established in this institution, but then much more will happen when it comes to, because now the food sector has their own demands when it comes to raw material. That's what we have to be acting at. Our concerns are also at several challenges. We have this pests and wildlife, and people from this part of the country who should be knowing how much is happening. The cultivation. People are giving up cultivation maybe because of monkey menace, wild boars, the blue bulls in the north, and so on. Elephant, so you talk to the farmer, tens of challenges he or she has. And that's why we are looking for solution. I keep asking every site in the country because some solution for this, because it's falling between the crops, the plant and the animals. Then when it comes to livestock, and our livestock, thanks to many efforts, conservation efforts, is a happy thing that marginally there is an increase. The latest livestock census, there is a marginal increase. About 20 crores of cows, cattle, 10 crores of buffalo, and other population, ruminants, goats, and so on. So there is a small increase in livestock population. At the same time, we have challenges for the feed and fodder. And this is what we look at. Again, you are all familiar with the per capita milk availability. One of the largest milk consuming country that we are, more than 250 grams that we are able to afford. And that's where we are looking at the improvement of indigenous breeds. How can we get, of course, A1, A2 and all, I will not get into the discussion. There's a lot of discussion going on those aspects. And so this is what is with regard to improvement of indigenous breeds, the new technologies, whatever you talk of in human reproduction, similar animal reproduction techniques are available today, almost. So that's where we can harness more of this capacity and the potential to have that kind of integrated farming, to enhance the farmers' income. Just the crops would not do. And then this one such example. That's where we are looking at some of these, but at the same time, the recent concerns are zoonotic diseases, increasing zoonotic diseases. And even last week I was in Northeast, big fever, the swine flu again coming up. So people are worried about keeping livestock. For example, pigs were totally, they were culled out. These kind of issues coming up all the time in this country. Then cultured meat, people have been proposing this. When it comes to fish, I would, Dr. Ravishankar would be speaking more about it. But the point at this time is about 14 plus million tons of fish. And then we also contributed considerably to the national export. This time it was something like 58,000 crore rupees. And then this one sector that has a huge potential, given the island systems, 8,000 kilometers of coastline and so on. So more and more possibilities from aquatic systems, not just fish, maybe high-value compound and so on. So we're at about 8% of the global fish production. As I said, this is the latest export figure. Now, this is what we are at today, but then aiming at higher and higher as we go along. But the possibilities are also with regard to diversification. Could be agri-tourism. We have at least half a dozen good examples in this country, not only fish, but agri-tourism in Maharashtra and Northeast and so on. So people have been showing interest, evincing interest in this aspect also. Now, we have issues with regard to mechanization and automation. There are several local innovations coming up by our youngsters, farmers, maybe illiterate to the extent they do not have degrees, but then because they're in the farm 24/7, they keep on innovating. And we need to provide a platform those people, to those possibilities we need to look at. Now this Atmanirbhar, Make in India, those platforms are kind of bringing out some of these products, machinery, as well as products from the high-value compounds from, for example, cotton. In rice, you are the experts, the cftri, something like 20 plus compounds possible from rice towards higher income levels. Now, this again, very familiar picture before you. 9.8 billion tons, more than 1.3 billion tons globally wasted food. And then here we worked out a few figures in the post-harvest losses, at least 1 lakh crore rupees every year. So people keep asking us whether you can afford it in functions, marriages, hospitals, hostels, orphanages, old age homes, the kind of food that we waste, amount of food that we waste. Now, can we serve the least that we can do is not waste food. And then, so looking at that possibility, make farming more remunerative. There are different kinds of specializations and the interventions towards secondary agriculture, whether it's grains, millets, the root crops, for example, potato, plantation crops, or the low value material we convert to higher. In this case, for example, omega-3 from linseed. The fermentation, the whole sector, then including value addition flowers, the kind of money that has brought to the farmers. And then fiber. Fiber is one thing that we didn't address seriously earlier, but now any kind of fiber. It need not be just cotton and jute, but pineapple fiber, banana fiber, bamboo fiber. So people are looking at any kind of fibers for some kind of a mending along with the other main fibers. So this is what is an interesting thing, blending in textiles is happening. Could be mushrooms, high value mushrooms, could be edible insects in the northeast, another food resource coming up, edible seaweed that we are all aware of, plus several nutraceuticals from aquatic organisms. This is a challenge for us, for agriculturists, agricultural researchers, because we are largely biologists working in this domain. So we didn't have much new things coming from the engineering side. Fortunately today, a lot of interactions from engineers, interest in agriculture, and then I see every month at least 3 or 4 engineers coming and asking in Bangalore for getting into agriculture. Because they had their grandparents were agriculturists, their parents were agriculturists, and they have these engineering degrees. That's one thing interesting. So some of these new things I won't read out, but these are things that are possible, that are needed now, and people are investing in.